What is going on, YouTube? It is your boy Sharon We Flame, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile for my UA deck as of June 2016. Now, we do have a new ban list coming in the next few weeks. The OCG already got theirs, and it was pretty watered down. But their meta is already like they're kind of like in a new meta. So whenever a new meta like just drops, Konami doesn't want to really hit the ban list like too hard to make too many changes, because they want people to buy the sets and buy the cards that are established there right now. Like Manafo just came out there, Blue Eyes is at full power there, so they they don't want to step on their own toes and ban those cards so quickly before they can make their money on it. So our ban list is probably going to be a lot more, what's the word, it's gonna be a lot more different than our last ban list. There's probably gonna be a ton of changes, and one of the changes that I would like is to see Rhoda go to 3. And the only reason that Rhoda even went to 1 was because the Teller Knights were just destroying everybody. And not only that, but the Teller Knights, they made their money on it, you know what I'm saying? So they put Rhoda to 1 to hit that deck and hopefully get people to buy the new stuff. So without further ado, let's get into the actual deck profile. Before I say anything though, I'm running the Brilliant engine, number 1, because Rhoda's at 1 and Reasoning is also at 1. And not only that, but the Brilliant Fusion engine with Gemini Seraphonite is really good because it allows you to get multiple normal summons. And as you may or may not know, when you have UA Stadium out, every time that you normal summon a monster, you get to search another UA monster from your deck, and that effect is not once per turn. So effectively you can get 2 searches out. For example, if you start with Brilliant Fusion, you send Trick Clown and you send Garnet, or you could send Lazuli, but realistically you would send Lazuli if there's already a Garnet in your graveyard, or obviously if you drew in the Garnet, which sucks. So you can get that Garnet back for like discard fodder for Twin Twister or Perfect Ace. So yeah, you would do that. You would have Stadium on board, and if you have a midfielder, you would normal summon a midfielder, and then hopefully you have a level 5 or a 6, so you only have to tribute one of your Gem Knight either Seraphonite or Trick Clown, and then you would get 2 searches. You would get a search for a midfielder and you would get a search for tributing. So you would have 2 monsters, and that also that lets you find the monsters that you want. Like for example, if I'm going first, typically I would search for Back Blocker and I would search for Perfect Ace, because having these 2 cards on board at the same time, these allow you to stop your opponent. It allows you to control them. Perfect Ace on your opponent's turn is basically like a Cyber Dragon Infinity. Yeah, you have to discard a card for it, but it's not too bad, and that's why the Brilliant Fusion engine also works, because discarding Trick Clown isn't too bad, because you pay 1,000 and Trick Clown comes back on the field. You could tribute him, or you could use him for something else like a rank 4 play later on, so it's not too horrible. And you could send Garnet to your hand, and then you Brilliant Fusion Lazuli and get Garnet back and send him again if you have to. So this deck isn't really short on hand resources, you know what I'm saying? And even if you draw like an extra terraforming, because we are like, in theory, you have 5 UA Stadiums in this deck. And the main reason for that is because UA Stadium is the whole engine of the deck. It allows you to OTK, because whenever you special summon a monster, all your monsters on board gain 500 attack. You know what I'm saying? And that's a permanent buff. So if you have UA Stadium and every time you special summon a monster every turn, like they get 500, they could get 500 next turn and 500 next turn, and it's not just UA monsters. So if you have extra deck monsters out like Utopia the Lightning or Gaia Thunder Charger, stuff like that, they will also get the boost. And like I said, the boost is permanent until they leave the field, and you can just boost it next turn by special summoning another UA monster again. So yeah, that basically, like, even if you do draw like a UA Stadium and a terraforming, personally I wouldn't right away discard a terraforming for Perfect Ace during their turn, because chances are they're gonna pop your UA Stadium, so you want to have another one. But in case you really do need to stop your opponent from going off on second turn and possibly OTKing you, if you have to, you can just discard the terraforming. It's not a big deal. So really, this deck doesn't really brick. It really never bricks. Like, even if you do draw the Brilliant Fusion cards, like I said, you could discard them for Perfect Ace and you could get them back somehow. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's talk about the cards individually though. UA Mighty Slugger, this is kind of like the main card that you want to finish at the end of your combo before your battle phase. And the reason why I say that, because this deck is multi-layered. There's different things that you want to do during each phase of the game. So Mighty Slugger, he's like Utopia the Lightning, he's like Armades. Whenever you attack with him, your opponent can't activate effects. Like, they can't activate any cards whatsoever. So Mighty Slugger is really good at attacking through mirror forces. He's just really good in just finishing the game. He's a 2300 beater with a UA Stadium boost. He's 2800, and also with Power Jersey, he becomes, at least if he didn't already get a UA Stadium boost, 3300. So that's really fucking good. Like, this card is absolutely amazing. The only reason you wouldn't run it to 3 is because you want to keep your monster count kind of low in this deck because of the engine that you run, and the fact that you can search so easily with Power Jersey and Stadium and Rhoda, and even Reasoning could get cards on board. So yeah, Mighty Slugger to 2, and like I said earlier, he's a level 5, so it's really nothing for you to tribute your Seraphonite or your Trick Clown or anything else that you have on the board to normal summon him and get the search from UA Stadium. Next is UA Perfect Ace at 2. Like I said, this card is like a Cyber Dragon Infinity, but you can only use it during your opponent's turn. Like, you use it once per turn and you have to discard. So it's not as good as Cyber Dragon Infinity, and it really shouldn't be, because the investment to getting this thing on the field is basically next to nothing. Perfect Ace, this is something that you can put it on board before your battle phase if you really have to, if you need to do some quick damage and you're going to get a boost from Stadium, or you can OTK using Midfielder's effect, or you could Power Jersey him. But realistically, what you want to do is, when you go into your main phase 2 and you've done your damage, you want to get Perfect Ace on your board in defense mode one way or another. So every UA monster has this effect where you can special summon it from your hand by returning a UA monster from your field to your hand. And that's something that Midfielder is usually used for. He's usually, like, the way I would describe Midfielder is like you're putting a monster on board for you to get another monster on board. Like, the way that the deck works, if you don't Brilliant Fusion and if you don't Signing Deal, if you have Midfielder in your hand, like every turn that you normal summon a Midfielder, it's like being allowed to have another monster on board, if you want to think about it like that. So yeah, Perfect Ace, you want to drop this on your main phase 2, and you want to be very selective of what you do. Like I said, you could discard the Brilliant Fusion cards and you get them back no problem. So that's why the engine is really good in this. And he's also a level 5, so most of this, well, not most of this extra deck, but a good amount of this extra deck is level 5s. Like, you have Volcasaurus, you have Magna Beast, you have Zenmayo to help you pop back row, you have Durandal to basically, like, low-key stun your opponent during their turn. So yeah, and this deck does control a lot. Like, between Perfect Ace and Back Blocker and Durandal and stuff like that, this deck does have some good control. This is the engine of the deck. Besides Stadium, this is Midfielder. He's the only target for Rhoda. And like I said, you want to normal summon him because you don't have to tribute for him. It's no cost, and he'll get you your search with UA Stadium. So basically, if you have UA Stadium and Midfielder in your hand at least, this will allow you to get any UA monster that you have in your deck on board that turn, as long as his summon's not negated, the special summon of the monster is not negated, and Stadium doesn't get popped by like MST or Twin Twister or whatever that may be during that turn. And also, its second effect is really vital for OTKs because you could use it during the battle phase. So for example, if I have a Dreadnought Dunker in my hand, and I have Midfielder out, and I have Mighty Slugger out, after I attack with Mighty Slugger, I can then use Midfielder's second effect to put Mighty Slugger back into the hand and bring Dreadnought Dunker out. So yeah, it's basically like using a quick play card like Emergency Teleport or something like that during the battle phase in Cosmo. And another example I guess that I could make would be like mass changing a hero monster during the battle phase, so you can get basically another monster to attack that turn. So midfield is very important. You want to see this card as often as as early as possible. So yeah, that's why this is the only UA monster you run at 3. He's very important. I run 2 back blockers. A lot of people only run 1, but I really like running 2 because back blocker, whenever your opponent special summons a monster, you can change its attack position, whether it's in defense or attack, change it to whatever the other one is, and you can negate its effect. And that effect is negated forever. You know what I'm saying? Even if back blocker leaves the board, if the turn changes, if the monster sends itself to the graveyard, like in the Team Culture Kings replay video, you'll see that someone had a ABC Buster Dragon. I think that's the name of it. It's like the big fusion boss monster that like negates cards like crazy for the ABCs, and he tried to tribute itself for its effect, even though back blocker wasn't on the field, and its effect still got negated. So basically it tributed itself for nothing. It didn't get an effect. So back blocker is really good. This is another main phase 2 card. Like when your battle phase is done and everything is said and done, you want to have back blocker on your board in defense mode. 2700, that's a lot of defense, so it's kind of hard to get over him. And like I said, he just controls your opponent. And also, if you have 2 back blockers going at one time, it gets really hard for your opponent to basically do anything, because most decks, once a monster is special summoned, they either have a mandatory effect that they want to activate right away because they have to, or they have an effect that they need to activate to get over your board. So back blocker just basically says fuck you to like everything. So yeah, really good. Unfortunately, he's a level 7, but that's not too bad. Like when you're going like in a match, when you're going in second or third round, because you could side in Chaos Hunter, and that's what I'm gonna talk about later on. You want 1 Rival Rebounder. Rival Rebounder is really good. The only problem is he's a level 6, so he doesn't have levels in common with anything else in his deck, so you can't use him for Xyz plays. But Rebounder is really good because if you already like for example, in a Brilliant Fusion play, I would Brilliant Fusion, right? I would bring Seraphonite out, and I would send Trick Clown to the grave. Trick Clown would come back on the board, right? And then I would get 2 normal summons. So I would tribute something for Rival Rebounder, whether it be Trick Clown that's on the board or the Seraphonite, and then I'll be able to special summon another UA monster from my hand. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I could just special summon another UA monster on my hand. So if you can search him by like tributing for one of your level 5s or normal summoning midfielder, it's really good for OTK plays. And honestly, at that point, if you cleared their back row, it's no problem to OTK. You know what I'm saying? Like this deck OTKs like crazy. It OTKs like it's nobody's fucking business. So that's why you want 1 Rival Rebounder, because really you want to search him when you have the right situation to OTK. That's basically all that he does. You're running 2 Dreadnought Dunker. This is the biggest beater in the deck, and not only that, but whenever he inflicts damage to your opponent, you get to pop a card on the field. So you can Dreadnought Dunker, you could attack, and you could pop their field spell. You could pop a back row that they didn't activate, like if they had like a bottomless trap hole or something like that. You could pop another monster. You could just basically pop whatever you want. The only thing is that it targets, so it's not too good against like Cosmo because it doesn't get the ships off. But yeah, this is a really good card. Whenever you're pushing for an OTK play, if you want to get, like if you can get a UA monster, this is basically, besides Mighty Slugger to make shit safe for you, he's one of the monsters that you want to get. And he's basically like your second most important target for Power Jersey. Raigeki is Raigeki. You know what it does. It just clears their monsters out. There's really nothing to talk about. UA signing deal. This card is very good. You do have to pay life points for it though. Like, and sometimes I forget about it, and a lot of people forget about it. But really, it doesn't really amount to anything because this is like a OTK, like control-y kind of deck. So basically, like if you are stalling, you're only going to stall for 1 or 2 turns before you can get the board that you need to OTK, or you're just going to OTK out front. So paying the life points isn't really that big of a deal, like whatsoever. So the way this works is you can special summon a UA monster from your deck. Its effects are negated. and it can't be used as a Synchro or Xyz material. But that doesn't really matter, because whenever you're going to signing deal a monster, usually midfielder, and then you're going to special summon another UA monster by returning midfielder or returning that other monster. So all those restrictions are gone. You know what I'm saying? And then you can normal summon midfielder and then get whatever monster that you special summon back from from signing deal, and just summon it. So like the restrictions don't really matter, the life point cost doesn't really matter. This is basically like a less safe Rhoda for the entire deck, because you do have to special summon a monster. It can get bottomless. A lot of things can happen to it. So yeah, but like I said, the card is really good, and if you get this in tandem with UA Stadium and you search midfielder, like, you're in good position. You're gonna get some monsters on board. Typically for a play like that, I would get back blocker and I would get perfect ace to stall for a turn, so then I could go off again with UA Stadium and then get the board that I need to OTK. You're running 2 power jerseys. Sometimes I put this to 1, but realistically you should be running it at 2, because this card really lets you OTK like crazy. It gives your monster a 1k boost. It doubles battle damage, and every time it destroys a monster, it could make a second attack during the battle phase. So yeah, power jersey after like a UA Stadium boost with something like Mighty Slugger can just destroy your opponent's entire board. It's really easy because Mighty Slugger, he's Armades, you know what I'm saying? They can't activate anything. So yeah, and you can get this card back, because it has a negative effect. If the monster is still on board on the end phase with this card equipped, then you have to banish that monster. But if that monster returns to your hand, which you're going to do anyway in main phase 2, then you get power jersey back. So once you have 1 power jersey, you can keep recycling it, you know what I'm saying? But chances are you're not going to have to recycle it too many times, because if you get the board that you want with power jersey, you're either going to OTK that turn, or you can put on back blocker or perfect ace during main phase 2, stall them during their turn, and then when it comes back to your turn, then you can finish the job. So that's why running it at 1 isn't too bad, but running it at 2 is kind of important, because the only way you can search it is if penalty box is in your grave. So yeah, you want to get it at 2, because you do want to see it at 1 point. You can OTK without it, but power jersey just makes it so much easier. 2 terraforming to search for UA Stadium. You know what Rhoda does, I already talked about it and why you run it. Stadium, I already talked about really while breaking down all the rest of the cards. Same with Brilliant Fusion. Monarch Stormforth, broken fucking card. You could use this to like pitch away any threat, but realistically what I use it most is to get one of my level 5s or a rival rebounder normal summon on the field, to basically either search with Stadium or segue with rival rebounder into more monsters. So yeah, Twin Twister clears back row. Solemn Strikes and like Bottomless Trap Holes and Solemn Warning and like Trap Tricks Trap Hole and like cards of that nature are a problem for this deck to deal with. Mirror Force isn't, because you know, Mighty Slugger, but those cards are a problem. Like if you get one of those cards flipped on you, it can be very devastating, you know what I'm saying? It can really slow down the deck depending on what you have on board. Like if you have a Stadium of Brilliant Fusion, like that one Solemn fucking Warning or Bottomless Trap Hole, that's not doing shit, you know what I'm saying? You're still gonna get a ton of monsters on board, and you're still going to do a lot of damage that turn. It's probably going to stop you from OTKing, but you're still going to do a lot of damage that turn. So yeah, Twin Twister at 2. You can swap this out for MST if you're not too crazy about blowing the hand resources. Like if you like to go in the perfect ace a lot, you can get rid of that for MST. You can get rid of it for Galaxy Cyclone, because pitching Cyclone isn't too bad with perfect ace, or milling it with Reasoning, because then you can get rid of floodgates and field spells and shit like that. So you can run whatever back row hate that you want, but Twin Twister, if you want to OTK, this is the card. You know what I'm saying? This deck doesn't really lack hand resources too much. It really doesn't. And if you do pitch away a UA monster, chances are you can just get it right back. So Twin Twister at 2. Reasoning at 1. If Reasoning was at 3, like when Reasoning was at 3 and Rhoda was at 3, this deck was really good. For some reason, nobody was playing Reasoning in this deck. I don't know why they weren't playing Reasoning in this deck, but if they've realized how good this was when Rhoda was at 3 and Reasoning was at 3, this deck would be really, really, really annoying and hard to deal with. Like, even with Reasoning at 3 and just us still having Brilliant Fusion at 3, this deck would be a huge problem. I mean, it's pretty good right now, but it's probably not going to win like a YCS or anything like that. But you can beat meta decks with this. Also, one more thing. When you Reasoning and you mill away a penalty box, it's like the fucking juice. Like, if you Reasoning and they guess wrong, you get your monster, you mill a penalty box, like you just plus so fucking hard off of one card, because you can just banish penalty box and you can search another UA monster. So the effective penalty box on the board, it's okay. It does protect your monsters. Like, you know, as sort of the damage step, you can banish your opponent's monster until their second phase. So against Cosmo, I like to use this because I can banish the Dark Destroyer for a couple turns, which won't let them bounce. Like, it won't get its bounce effect in the graveyard, so they won't have anything else on board a lot of times. Or like, if you have Power Jersey and Mighty Slugger, chances are their board is fucking donezo anyway. So this will let you OTK because the ship can't bounce if he's banished for like 2 turns. So yeah, penalty box is really good. Sandstorm Mirror Force. Like I said, you want to protect your monsters because you want to build up a field over time. That's kind of what UA does. It's kind of like zombies in a way, the way you build up your field over time, except you don't really do it from the graveyard. You wouldn't run Vanilla Mirror Force because like so many cards right now like just dodge Vanilla Mirror Force. You wouldn't run Storming Mirror Force because I really don't like that card. I don't like giving my opponent his resources back in his hand, like, hey, here you go, buddy, like, use these for later. And I don't like Drowning because, like, at any given moment, you're going to have monsters on board in this deck. You know what I'm saying? You're not trying to protect your life points. You're trying to protect your monsters so you can OTK. And another thing about Dreadnought Dunker that I didn't say before is he inflicts piercing damage. You know what I'm saying? So if you Sandstorm Mirror Force a bunch of monsters and you have Dreadnought Dunker out with a Powered Jersey, you're going to OTK. Like, you're going to fucking OTK. Like, there's no other way around it. You know what I'm saying? There isn't monsters with like 35... like 100 defense, like, and you're gonna double the damage. Like, even a Dark Destroyer is 1800 defense, right? You Sandstorm Mirror Force him, he's face down, you got Power Jersey on him, that's 3500 minus 1800, that's 1700 damage. You're gonna double, that's 3400 damage that you're gonna do in piercing, attacking that fucking Dark Destroyer with Power Jersey and Dreadnought Dunker. 3400, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna get another attack because of Power Jersey. And if he has more monsters on board, hopefully he has a huge fucking board that you just Sandstorm Mirror Force, you can just OTK off of piercing damage with Power Jersey alone. So like, that kind of play is fucking insane, and I really wouldn't play this deck if Sandstorm Mirror Force wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because the Rhoda and the Reasoning hit really hurt the deck, but Sandstorm like just lets you just make these crazy fucking plays. It's absolutely amazing. Like, there isn't many decks that can do piercing damage for an OTK. Like, UA is one of them. And the Gemini engine, I already explained these. Not much to say. You know what Trick Clown does? He gets sent to the graveyard, he comes back, you pay a stack. You can do that once per turn. He's tribute fodder. That's basically all he has. Either the tribute fodder or he's a rank 4 play with midfielder, or if you happen to get a Garnet out on board, then him too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I use him to go into Utopia Lightning all the time, but usually it's to get like Mighty Slugger or Rebounder on board with UA Stadium for searches. The extra deck, I don't really go into the extra deck too much, with the exception of Utopia the Lightning. I go into him a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, Utopia the Lightning is a better Mighty Slugger. He boosts himself up to 5k when he's attacking a monster. So Utopia the Lightning just seals the deal a lot. So really, this is going to be the main card you're going to be going to in your extra deck. And I am running Utopia Ray, so I can Utopia the Lightning twice. Like, I can Utopia the Lightning the next turn if he manages to stay on board, or during their turn if they decide, oh well, Lightning doesn't have any more Utopia material, so I can just attack over him because he's only a 2500 little bitch. Well, he's not. He's a 5k little bitch. So you ain't attacking over my Lightning. It's not happening. And obviously Seraphonite you would go to through Brilliant Fusion. I'm assuming that you guys know what these cards do by now. The only one that I really want to talk about is, I guess I'll talk about the rank 7s and how you'll get these on board. So I'll go into the side deck first, and I'll talk about Chaos Hunter. You don't run Imperial Iron Wall on like in this deck, because Chaos Hunter is a level 7, and you can use Chaos Hunter to make rank 7 plays because you are running level 7s as well in the main deck. So yeah, Chaos Hunter is Imperial Iron Wall. The only thing is, you ain't gonna MST this bitch away. You're not gonna Twin Twister this bitch away. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he has a discard cost, but like I said, this deck doesn't really care too much about hand resources. You know what I'm saying? Because like, you got Trick Clown, you got Lazuli, you got extra terraformings. You just got shit that you can go into, and even Rival Rebounder, he can normal summon. I mean, he could special summon a UA monster from your graveyard when he gets put out, which I didn't mention before. So like I said, you don't really care to discard really too much at all. So Chaos Hunter is just the juice in this deck. Really good card. Like any deck that can run Chaos Hunter over Imperial Iron Wall, like do it. Like fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? Because Twin Twister and MST and like Galaxy Cyclone, there's all these back row hates that we like, cards that we have, but like monster hate is a little bit more specialized. And if you can't remove from play, in a lot of cases, like a deck like Monarchs and a deck like Cosmo may not be able to get the monster on board that's gonna jump over Chaos Hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just may not be a possibility for them. And also, you have Sandstorm Mirror Force anyway, and you could boost him with UA Stadium, just like anything else. So yeah, Chaos Hunter is a must side in. It is a must side in versus Cosmo and Monarch. Excuse me. Master Restrict, Monarch, whatchamacallit, what's that deck? What's that fucking deck called? Magispectors, because Magispector, like, they're trap cards, like they have to tribute their monsters to get their effects. So if monsters can't be tributed, it doesn't just say tribute summon, it says tributed. If it can't be tributed, then Magispectors can't really stop your plays to protect themselves. So you want to side this in against them as well. 3 Max E when you're going second, pretty much all the time. Effect Veiler, it's really good against almost every deck. Some decks is not too great against, like it's not really good against Cosmo. That's why I don't main deck it, because you can negate like a pilot's effect and it can still banish itself as a cost, and it's no longer on the field technically, so it could still get its fucking effect. So it's really fucking annoying. That's why I don't run Veiler in the main deck. And if you look at all the YCS results and stuff like that, Cosmo does make up the majority of top 64 at YCS events. So that's telling me either Cosmo is really fucking good, which we know it is, or it's just like a lot of players are playing Cosmo. So at my regionals, I ran into 3 Cosmo players out of 9. So I say that's a pretty good number to not main deck Effect Veiler. Time Space Trap Hole. This can be Solemn Strike. You know what I'm saying? It could be Solemn Strike. It could be a Solemn Warning. I like Time Space because it's good against more than just Pendulum. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you negate the summon of a Cosmo monster, it just comes right back on the fucking board. You know what I'm saying? Or it just floats. It just so many fucking things that's just problematic. So I prefer Time Space, but you can make the Solemn Strikes if you have like the money to fucking buy Solemn Strikes. I mean, obviously, like playing Solemn Strikes in a budget deck like this is kind of like a little mismatch. So I think people would be more interested in budget options for this deck. Like, and this deck is really fucking cheap. Like, besides like the extra deck that's not really necessary in some cases, like Thunder Charger's like $15, Zen Miles like $15. I don't really go into him at all. Utopia Lightning's like $15. Everything else is really fucking cheap. The Brilliant Fusions are like $13 a piece. Like, the deck is actually pretty fucking cheap. It's pretty fucking cheap. So yeah, and Bottomless Trap Hole, you know what Bottomless Trap Hole does. So yeah, if you want to see what this deck can do, let me know in the comments. Even if you don't comment, because this is a new channel, so there's probably not gonna be a ton of people seeing this, but I do, like, we still have to put out content, because if we're consistent with our content, more people will come to the channel, and if more people come to the channel, then more people will view our videos, and if more people view our videos, we'll be more motivated to make more content for you guys. So yeah, even if no one says anything, I'm still probably gonna do like a UA replay video. I'll probably show like, 4 or 5 replays, and let you guys see the deck in action. There's one replay in the Culture Kings team video number 1 that you can see, but it's only one replay. So yeah, I'll try to supplement that with a replay video and supplement this with a replay video. So thanks for watching, guys. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm not really too good at doing verbal deck profiles, so I hope I didn't mumble too much or go too fast or just like be all over the place. So give me some feedback. If you run UAs, give me some text that you like to use. I know people like to use Feast of the Wild level 5s, I think the name of that card is, and some other cards like that. And let me know what engine you run besides Brilliant Fusion, because I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. So next video for me is probably going to be the UA replay video, and I'm going to try to get the other members to do a deck profile or do some videos and put them on the channel. So thanks for watching, guys. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Share Nui Flame out.